Okay, so just a summary of today's lesson. So today we did speed. We talked about speed, what is speed related to, and we also looked a little bit at distance time graph. So speed. So speed is the measure of how fast an object is moving. So we have a moving object and we want to see how fast it's moving. So when we look at speed, there are two things we take into consideration. We take into consideration the distance, and we take into consideration the time. Okay, so let's say I have car A and car B, both traveling to Ipoh, or both traveling to a certain place. And let's say it is 100 kilometers away, and they all start at the same time, at the same place. Car A reaches within 2 hours. Car B reaches in 3 hours. So the distance is the same, 100 kilometers, 100 kilometers. The time is different. So logically, the person who reaches the fastest or reaches within a shorter period of time is the one that traveled at a faster speed. So in this case, car A would have driven faster because car A managed to reach 100 kilometers in 2 hours compared to car B, which traveled the same distance but reached in 3 hours. So logically, we know that car A would have been driven faster. So we see that car A was driving at a higher speed compared to car B. So we're looking at how fast car A is moving. So speed is basically us looking at how fast an object is moving. Okay, so looking at distance and time, we can come up with a formula where speed is equals to distance over time. Where distance can be measured in meters and time in second. Or if I have a longer distance and a longer period of time, I can use kilometer and hour, which is why when we drive a car, we say 60 kilometers an hour. So what does 60 kilometers an hour mean? It means in 1 hour, with that pace that I'm going, 1 hour I can travel 60 kilometers. Compared to 100 kilometers an hour, in 1 hour I can travel 100 kilometers an hour. In 1 hour, 100 kilometers. So automatically in 1 hour, the distance that is being traveled more is the one with the highest speed. So that is speed is equals to distance over time. And then we look at, let's say we have a long distance and a longer period of time. So we look at average speed, which is just an extension of speed. So average speed is total distance over total time. So speed is distance over time. Now average speed. Okay, average speed is now distance over time as well, but now it's total distance or total time. And usually these are for longer period of time. That's why we look at the average. In that whole journey, what is the average speed? So I take total distance, usually longer, so kilometer and time. So I will have kilometer per hour. So that's speed, and then I have average speed. Okay, and then these elements can be represented in a graph. So I have distance and time, correct? So I can come up with a distance time graph. Okay, for a period of time, the total distance traveled. So let's say I'm going like that, suddenly it's a straight line. So what does that mean? As time is increasing, my distance is also increasing until it comes to this point. Let's say this is 100 meters. Then it stays at 100 meters. So if something is staying at 100 meters, it means it's not moving. That means this object or this vehicle, this cyclist, this car, after a specific time, let's say 5 seconds, it's at the same distance. That means the car has stopped moving. So this is a distance time graph. But let's say I have a graph which is now speed time graph. Okay? With a speed time graph, That means after a certain time, the speed is 100. Does that mean that car is not moving? No, because now it's a speed time graph. So after 5 seconds, the speed is 100 meter per second. That means the car is moving because it has a speed of 100 meter per second, but it's not changing. The speed is not changing. The car is not accelerating. That means it's a constant speed throughout the whole journey. So that is a speed time graph. So we look at graph, be careful what type of graph are we looking at. Then you will be able to analyze what is happening in the graph, what is the motion of the object. Okay, so that is speed, average speed, and distance time graph, which here I also showed you a speed time graph. Okay, and one last thing. Let's say I have a distance time graph. Okay, now for any graph, when I take, let's say I have A and I have B. Put a different color. For any graph, I have a y-axis and an x-axis. When I take the x-axis, divide the y-axis, any value, okay, I get the gradient of the graph. So in this case, when I take distance divide time, I get speed, which means the gradient is the speed. The speed is the gradient. So if I have a steeper line, in this case A is steeper, that means the speed is faster. If the line, the graph is less steep, that means the speed is slower, the gradient is slower. So this works for any graph. When you have any graph, when the gradient is steeper, when the line is steeper, that means it's faster. When the line is less steep, then we say the value of the gradient is slower. Okay, so we look at speed, we look at average speed, we look at distance time graph, and we look at the gradient, whether it's steeper or less steep, which means higher speed or lower speed. So remember, when it is steeper, it's higher speed. When it is less steep, it's lower steep. Okay, so these are the main elements that you have to understand till this part of the chapter. Okay, thank you.